Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you guys all coming here. And a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, I'm going to keep it short and sweet because I know there's a couple other speakers and everybody's been up since about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So, especially myself, part of what I want to talk about too is just putting in the work, right? A lot of people, obviously you guys are already doing it. You're coming here at 3, 4 in the morning to come work out. Everybody wants to build a brand, and you're already doing it. Every day you're already doing what you should be doing the things you love, being a part of communities like this. And now it's just kind of syncing all that up and owning it. Let's switch to the first slide. Knowing who you are. Just like a lot of you guys, I'm sure if you really start to look in the mirror and think about it, we all suffer from some level of imposter syndrome, right? We all look in the mirror and you're like, I'm not good enough. I mean, Dustin just said, he's like, I'm just some guy from Ohio. I was a fat kid from New Jersey, right? I didn't think I'd amount to shit, right? One day they throw me on television. I do show after show after show, and I'm still like, I'm nobody. I don't know why I'm here. I don't deserve this any more than anybody else. I know there's some kids in the background. I've been with a lot of women I don't deserve, and that was part of the beauty of being on television, right? And I always understood that, and I think that's why I've gotten to work over the years for so long, is because I was always honest with myself. I was just, at any moment, all this shit could disappear. But I had to hone in on who I was and what I loved doing. One of the things I always think about when I was on the show was, this is the early 2000s, and I was still listening to 80s metal music, and we would always talk about who our favorite artists were at the time, and I was like, I love Motley Crue. I still listen to Guns N' Roses, and they're like, you don't listen to anything relevant now? But that's who I was. That's how I wanted to build my brand. And when I started to build my brand and hone in on who I was, if that's what I like, then I'll find my tribe. And that's exactly what Corey's built here, right? He's found a bunch of other crazy bastards who are going to get up at 2, 3 in the morning and come work out with him. That you can't fake that. It's so authentic to who he is and what he does. And that's what I try to do. Every day I look in the mirror and I'm like, all right, who am I? What am I trying to accomplish here? And what is my brand? A lot of times I've hired multiple different companies, right? To make it in New York, you can't be half-assed. You can't do it, part-time. You have to either go in all in or all out, or get out of the city, because you're never going to survive. So I've hired marketing teams, and they're like, well, if you want to appeal to a mass audience, if you want to make real money, well, you got to do it this way. You got to make it a little softer. You got to appeal to more women. And I'm like, that's really not my thing, though. I want to do more weightlifting and bodybuilding and jujitsu, and those are the things. So start to really write down, and this has helped me a shit ton. Manifestations and journaling. As weird and kind of feminine as it sounds, it's definitely worth doing, right? And it's helped me out a lot over the last couple of years.
Bon Jovi, then. You're a metalhead.
Yeah, yes. So I started to write down all these things that I wanted to happen. I wanted to, and who I was and what I was trying to build. And it's definitely helped me over the years. Next slide. Again, like I was saying, you can't fake it. You got to do the work every day. Driving out here, I got my nephew with me. I got some buddies with me. I wanted them all to come, and I'm looking at flights, and every flight out of New York to Ohio, which is unheard of, is $800. $800. So I'm like, oh shit. I was like, I should just cancel this whole trip. But this is what makes it, right? Those times you don't want to get on the flight. You don't want to get up in the morning. You don't want to put in that extra set. You don't want to do the shit you have to do after work. You just want to go home, just like everybody else. We could have easily stayed in bed this morning and kind of forgot about all this. But it's all the things you do. It's that workout you put in when you don't want to go, right? Those are the times that matter. Even if it's not the best workout, it's the consistency, right? One of the things I've learned the most about building my brand and building, the little that I do have, because everybody's like, oh, you have this massive brand. I'm like, I wish I'm not cashing $10 million checks. And I hear all these people online. I'm like, what are you doing different that I'm not? Because I don't have some mansion. I'm not driving around in a Ferrari. But I do own something that's really special to me, and I want to continue to build that. And when you start to build something that you care about, right? I know there's a lot of parents in the room. right? You start to treat whatever business you have when you really care and you really put everything that you believe into that, then that becomes like another kid to you, right? And you want to see it succeed and you want to see it grow and you want to continue to put effort into that. So getting up every day and doing all the shit you don't want to do is the most meaningful stuff that you're going to end up doing. And just like Dustin said, you don't have to be the best. I was never the best at anything, nothing. I wasn't the strongest or the best looking or any of this shit. I was just the most consistent. And that's what I've done. I was on television for 8 years. I don't really talk about it much, but Corey loves bringing it up when I'm around. I did 8 shows. I made it to the end of 7 of them. I won. I took first 3 times, and I took second 3 times. Still to this day, I haven't been on the show in about 10 years, 12 years, something like that. And I still have the best record out of anybody who's ever done the show. And I have buddies who've done it 30 times. All right. So 8 shows and made it to the end of 7. It's pretty good. But that was the thing. I was just consistent. I'd show up. I never drank. I wasn't, chasing girls and stuff. I treated it like a job. I showed up every day. I was one of the first people on that thing. I mean, I got on in 2005. At the time there was no internet. Corey Gregory wasn't posting up videos of him shirtless here at 3 a.m, talking about how jacked he is, right? It was magazines and books. And I would take muscle and fitness magazines with me and do different arm workouts. I would take bands with me and stuff. I was just obsessed with it. I just got lucky. Lean into like who you are and what you love. If this is what you love, then just do that thing. Next slide. Building a community. Again, when you're authentic to yourself, even if you, at first, like I said before, I always suffer from that imposter syndrome. I always feel like, well, I'm doing this, but people might not like it. How do I get more people to like what I'm doing? Lean into what you're doing, and that's what I've done. And there's a lot of times, when I started putting the brand together and I have, gorillas on everything and sports cars and stuff, I'm like, no one's going to buy into this shit in New York. And slowly but surely, the more we did it, the more we stayed on top of these things, the more we started to build that brand, and people who, actually matter started to take notice, and we started to build this. And this is a picture from an event we did. I don't know if you guys know who Goob is. I met him a couple years ago here at the Arnold, and he stopped me and he's like, dude, I love your stuff, blah, blah. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even think you knew who the hell I was. And we started doing these workouts out in the street, and we get 200-300 people to show up. And just, one day we were sitting in the gym, and it was hot as shit in my gym, and he goes, you want to take some barbells outside? And I was like, yeah, let's take a bench, let's take all this stuff. We started working out in the middle of the street. People just started showing up, and we started doing these pop-up workouts in the middle of the street. I said, well, if that guy could shoot heroin and take a shit on the side of the street, we could work out, right? Anytime the cops came by, I'm like, you're going to bother us about lifting weights, but these guys could do all this, right? You can leave your car outside for 15 minutes, get a ticket, but the guy next door can shoot heroin all morning. Next slide. Like I said before, I wasn't good at anything. I wrestled all through high school and college. That's why, big fan of Dusty. And, I wasn't that good. I went to a parochial school, so in the Northeast, in New Jersey, New York, that area, wrestling's a big deal. It's because a lot of short Italian guys and got a lot of frustration. So wrestling became our sport because none of us were big enough for football. But I just worked. I worked. I remember, obviously always, just like we were saying, showing up early, staying late, doing the shit that, I'm never going to beat these guys in strength. I'm never going to beat them in skill. I just have to outwork them. And that's what I've continued to do. And in the last couple of years, I got into jiu-jitsu, and everybody thinks I'm nuts because that's what I do in my spare time. I'll leave work at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, call my coach, and I'm like, hey, listen, I'll pay you extra if you stay after and work with me. And I'll drill and drill and drill because it's just something that matters to me. And that's what I leaned into, and that's what I've kind of been working on recently aside from my brand. Adapt or die. During COVID, Corey could talk about this as well. During COVID, if you ask me what anxiety was, I'd say, I don't know, some shit women get. I don't know what it is. But about 3 days into the pandemic, and New York was shut down a lot more than it is here. And I remember sitting there, and I'm almost like scratching at my skin. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where my next dollar is going to come from. I don't know what Again, I just leaned into what I had to do and leaned into what I loved. I grabbed, I have one of those Darth Vader kettlebells from On It. Grabbed one of those, a TRX, a couple bands, went out to the park, started working out, started making videos. Slowly but surely, people walking by, old clients, hitting me up. They're like, hey, can we come work out with you? Hey, I saw that video. Where's that park that you're working out at? 2 months later, 3 months later, I got 70, 80 people in the park. Half of them were paying, half of them didn't have jobs, so I let them come for free, and the other half kind of floated everybody else. And then from that, I opened up another gym. I had 2 gyms before that, didn't work out. Again, I tried, I did what I loved, I leaned into it, and sometimes you're gonna fail. And failing, right? I wish there was another word that we could think of other than failing, because I never went to business school. I was a shit student. I wasn't that smart. But I learned the hard way. I threw myself into the fire. I did it. It didn't work out the first time. And I remember telling my partners as I walked out of the office after I smashed the desk and everything, I said, you know what, you guys are probably gonna go on and become fucking accountants or something. And I'm gonna continue to do this. And I'm gonna continue to open gyms. And that's what I did. I opened up another one, 11,000 square foot gym in the center of Manhattan on 32nd and Park Avenue. And that fell apart, and I had some shitty partners in that. And then when that fell apart during the pandemic, I opened up another one in 2021 when everybody was telling me, don't open up another gym in New York. In-person fitness is dead. No one's gonna do it. Everybody's working out at home. Everybody's into Peloton. And in New York City, all those trainers, everybody, I mean, if any of you guys have a Peloton, which don't raise your hand because it's embarrassing. If you're using a Peloton, all those trainers on there are all New York City-based trainers. A lot of those guys were like people who used to take my class and shit when I first started teaching CrossFit classes and stuff. And I was told 100 times, don't do this. It's a waste of money. Don't do it. I opened up a gym, and within 6 months we were profitable. And that's when I started training a lot of celebrities and big name people, because a lot of people had left New York and I stayed. I was like, I'm gonna dig my feet in. I love New York. My brand is New York. And I'd rather start over here and do what I love in the place that I love than go somewhere else and try it somewhere else. Or was it go to Florida, go to Texas? I'm like, fuck, it's gonna be just as hard there. I might as well stay where I'm at. So adapt or die. Do what you have to do. Continue to do what you love. But realize that there's gonna be some shit that happens. I lost a lot of money over the years investing in gyms and trying different stuff. But if you really, again, going back to that first slide, if you look in the mirror and you're like, this is what I love, I would do this for free. I would continue to work out. I mean, I'm not getting paid. We drove out here 8 hours, right, yesterday. And I'm like, I really don't want to do this. I mean, we slept for what, 2 hours, boys, right? So and we got up and we did this because I love it. You're never going to change my mind about this. The energy when we walked in here was unmatched. I've been around the world. I was in Dubai a couple months ago. When I was on the show, I've been to every continent. I've been to 20 different countries. I didn't have to pay for any of that shit, which was great. And I got to travel around so much and see so much of the world. And it is unmatched what you guys have here in this podunk little fucking town in the middle of the world. All right? So, you guys should thank that guy because he's definitely created something really cool here. Next slide. Put your name on it. Don't be, I've suffered from this. I've been afraid to do it. Again, that imposter syndrome. Like, I never put my name on anything. When I see different brands and people slap their name right underneath it, I'm like, I don't want my name on it. Because if it fails, lean into it. Put your name on it, right? Stomp your feet, clap your hands, and be just as proud. A lot of what Dusty was talking about, having that, not having the belief in yourself, but having people around you. Those 5 people around you who are around you all the time, whether it's your significant other, your friends, whoever it is, those people probably believe in you more than you do sometimes. And you have to lean on that. And don't be afraid to put your name on stuff, because I've done it 100 times and everybody's like, well, you're good. And I'm like, I'm not. But when you continue to do it and you start to give yourself that reassurance that like, hey, no matter what happens, I'm going to continue to go on. Kind of all this shit starts to play into each other. It all starts to flow into each other. Start to believe in yourself, doing the same things, building that confidence, putting your name on it. When you start to do these things and it starts to multiply, like I said before, I'm not the best at any of this shit. I'm really not. But I keep trying and I keep going. And if I don't become successful until I'm 50, great. It's better then than never, right? You know, if I die before it happens, at least I tried everything I could up to that point. Next slide. So coming out to the Arnold. The first time I came out to the Arnold, I was probably 22, 23 years old at the time. I'd gone to the Olympia the year before. I just happened to be in Vegas for my 21st birthday. Me and my brother went out, and I went to the Olympia. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. Like, this is a room full of idiots just like me who love bodybuilding. And the sport wasn't, all this shit wasn't what it was. I mean, you know, we talk about it all the time. It's evolved so much. The fact that I remember when I first got into CrossFit, and I remember going up to the regionals. This was probably 2009, 2010, sometime around there. And at the time, I was so happy that I was overhead squat at like 185. And then I'm at the regionals, and there's this woman there who's the hottest girl I've ever seen. Ponytail, steps out on the floor, clean and jerks, 210, onto her back, puts it over her head, and overhead squats it for 3. I go, this is fucking embarrassing. I'm attracted to a woman who's way stronger than I am. And I loved being around that energy. And I wanted to recreate that same thing that I felt, that I see here, right? I needed to recreate that in my town, right? So a couple years back, 2015, I started what we call Strong New York, which is you know, the brand, but also a huge event that we try to do. Try to mimic what they do at the Arnold and the Olympia. And I've been to Summer Strong, and I've been to FIBO, and I've been to the LA Fit Expo, and I've been to Comic-Con, and every event you could possibly think of. I spent hundreds of dollars going and trying to recreate that same experience and take what I saw and what I loved from all these different events and mash it all together and put it under one roof in New York City. So if you guys are in New York this year on September 27th, please come by Strong New York. It's a big expo. I've been trying to get Corey to come for a long time. But yeah, it's a mini version of what they do there with a little bit of New York flair put on it. But thank you guys so much for listening to my spiel. I appreciate it.